disaster-prone Philippines is facing its biggest corruption scandal in history.
Kailangang may managot sa naging matinding pinsala at katiwalian.
Billions of dollars meant for flood management have been stolen by contractors and government officials.
You're appalled, you're angry, it's really unbelievable, to be quite honest.
Meanwhile, ordinary Filipinos are left to suffer.
Malala every year.
Citizens are furious and taking to the streets, led by the youth.
Dahil nagkakaisa ang ating galit sa malalang pagnanakaw ng ating kinabukasan.
This corruption scandal will actually make or break his presidency.
Thirty-seven-year-old Ryan Maniaco is an insurance agent who lives in the town of Kalumpit in Bulacan Province.
Is this your boat?
Yes, ma'am.
Just north of the Philippines' capital, Manila, frequent typhoons cause Ryan's neighborhood to be flooded for 6 months a year.
So you do this every day?
Yes, ma'am, every day. Sobrang hirap po dito sa amin eh. Kasi kailangan nakabangka ka talaga pag lumabas ka rito sa lugar namin. Yun, araw-araw mag-aatid ka ng eskwela. Sa mga nagtatrabaho dito, doble yung pasakit kasi nga po, nababasa pa sila pag mapasok and then pag uwi nila, basa ulit sila. This place almost 6 feet in above.
Ryan was born and raised here, but many of his neighbors have since chosen to leave. He and his wife and 2 young daughters have no choice but to live on the first floor of their home to escape the water.
Itong panahon po ng mga malilit kami, parang 3 to 5 days lang yung baha in a year. Takbuhan pa namin yan ng mga bata kami, yung palayan ma'am, nagtatakbuhan kami sa palayan. Sumunod na mga dekada na taon, nagkaroon na ng may 1 month na baha. Ayun ang kasakalaunan, dire-diretso nang hindi po napakinabangan yung likodan namin. Kaya po binilang ko na rin po sila ng life vest eh, dahil napakadelikado po.
Do you wish you could move somewhere else?
Siguro kung yung mga lahat ng tao dito ma'am, kung tatanungin mo kung gusto ba lumipat, siguro sasabihin yes eh. Ang tanong lang, may pera ba na panlipat?
The Philippines is one of the countries most at risk from the climate crisis, and Bulacan is among its most flood-prone areas. While it's received the highest budget for flood control projects of any province in the country, Ryan says it has made no difference to their lives.
Iisipin mo na lang ma'am na itong bahaba nito is ito na to, or magiging mas worse pa siya sa susunod na taon kung hindi po magkakaroon ng na project para sa flood control dito sa lugar namin. Yearly balitang-balita yung bayan ng Kalumpit, pero hindi kami... Sorry.
Why does it make you sad to talk about it?
Para kasi nababaliwala kami.
You feel neglected by the government?
So much. Parang bata pa ako, ma'am, napapangako na yan eh. Yung baha na mawawala. Pero hindi naman nawawala, papalala ng palala.
The flooding is exacerbated by the Pampanga River that runs through the province. When it overflows, surrounding villages are submerged. Since President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. took office 3 years ago, his government has allocated more than $9.5 billion across nearly 10,000 flood control projects around the country. About 700 of those are here in Bulacan. Now, the province is in the center of a massive corruption scandal.
This is one of the most infamous flood control projects in Bulacan. The government allocated $1.3 million to build a river protection structure. Despite official records stating it was completed in 2023, the material used was of such low quality that some sections are already deteriorating. A government engineer has since confessed that every single infrastructure project in this entire district was substandard because the funds were stolen.
Just up the river, Ryan shows me another project, a dike worth $1.6 million meant to prevent overflow. It was marked as finished, but 200 meters of it was never constructed.
Mataas nga po itong ginawang flood control, pero yung kasunod po na is putol na, kaya parang baliwala rin yung naging flood control kung may putol yung naging proyekto dahil dito rin po dadaan yung tubig.
Aside from incomplete and substandard structures, further audits have shown that hundreds of projects across the country marked as completed on paper were never even started. The corruption scandal came to national attention when the president raised it in his annual State of the Nation address, triggering hearings and investigations.
Huwag na po tayo magkunwari. Alam naman ng buong madla na nagkakaraket sa mga proyekto. Kaya sa mga nakikipagsabwatan upang kunin ang pondo ng bayan at nakawin ang kinabukasan ng ating mga mamamayan, mahiya naman kayo sa inyong kapwa Pilipino.
From 2016 to 2025, it's alleged that lawmakers, government engineers, and auditors colluded with contractors to pocket billions of dollars of taxpayers' money meant for flood control. They received kickbacks for securing project contracts, sometimes leaving just 30% of the budget for the actual construction. Dozens of government officials now face allegations of corruption. All deny any wrongdoing.
How does it make you feel when you personally see projects like these?
Yun na po, nakakagalit po talaga, ma'am. Sana makulong silang lahat at maubos silang lahat. Yan po yung pinakamagandang mangyari sa mga nagnakaw po ng pondo ng gobyerno.
As the scandal grew, President Marcos Jr. replaced the head of the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, the agency in charge of the government's infrastructure projects.
Hi, Natasha.
Vince Dizon is the freshly appointed leader who now faces the monumental challenge of cleaning up the organization.
How did you feel when you were tapped to head the DPWH, which is described as one of the most corrupt government agencies in the country?
Overwhelmed. I will agree with you 100% that it is probably the most corrupt agency in government. It is probably the most difficult and most challenging government position I've ever held. A lot of the problems, unfortunately, that we're experiencing now is partly climate change, but also, sadly, man-made because of all the corruption that we've seen. And I'm sure this has been going on for decades already. You know.
Dizon says the corruption is so systemic, it involves collusion in every step of the process. During national budget deliberations, senators and congressmen lobbied for so-called insertions, which inflated the amounts allocated to flood control projects. It's alleged this was done so there'd be a bigger pot for corrupt lawmakers, DPWH engineers, contractors, and other officials to take home.
A lot of the projects that I've actually visited, I asked for a plan. The contractor on site can't even show me a simple drawing of a plan. And I said, how is this even possible? How can a project which will cost upwards of 100 million pesos not have a plan? And how did that project even get into the budget if it doesn't have a plan? So there is a clear pattern from the inception of the project all the way to the execution of the project and to the final payment for that project. And it is a consistent pattern that we've seen. It's so deeply entrenched and deeply rooted, and it involves everybody. You cannot do this without everybody, top to bottom, getting involved. Impossible. And when I say top to bottom, I'm talking about not just bureaucrats or executive officials, but this goes, to legislators, it goes to cabinet secretaries, it goes probably to even people in the Commission on Audit.
Tens of thousands of furious Filipinos are taking to the streets to demand accountability. To appease the public, the president set up the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI, tasked with probing the anomalies related to flood control projects and recommending charges. Top officials are under investigation. Senate President Francis Escudero was forced to quit, and House Speaker Martin Romualdez, a key ally and first cousin of President Marcos Jr., resigned. They deny any wrongdoing.
I'm very glad that I was invited to the ICI to share my personal knowledge on the budget process, and of course, any information about the insertions on the flood control. It's about facts and evidence, and hindi lang political noise or speculation.
Can the Filipino public really sincerely believe that higher government officials didn't know?
I think whether they knew or not, that's not up to me to say. But this is where I think the wisdom of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure comes in. And I think when the president saw and learned about the scale and the breadth and the width of this corruption, I think he said to himself that the only way that cleaning up this process will gain any credibility whatsoever is to have an independent commission.
The president is saying all the right things. He has said, regardless of who it is, ally or not, he wants them to pay. How can Filipinos trust that this isn't all for show?
I think the best judge of the president, and all of us, including myself, the president, and all the officials, the ICI, will not be based on what they say. It will be based on what they do. And I think the jury is still out there on us.
Public anger spiked upon seeing photos of government officials, contractors, and their family members who flaunted their lavish lifestyles brazenly.
So, yan yung feature niyang rolls na kaya ko siya nabili kasi tuwa ako sa payong. Interior siya ng Hermes orange. Oo. So, yan yung kulay ng Hermes.
Much of the frustration is also directed at so-called Nepo babies, including children of politicians who show off their worldwide travels and luxury goods online. The controversy has sparked calls for more government transparency, with demands that politicians' net worths be publicly available. It's a criminal offense for government officials to provide false information regarding their assets. Every single senator has since released theirs voluntarily, compared to just a tiny fraction of the over 300 members of the House of Representatives.
Sir, are you willing to release your SALN?
We asked former House Leader Romualdez for his statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth, known as SALN.
Sir, are you willing to release your SALN? Sir, are you willing to release your SALN?
I will do at the instance of the commission.
While Filipinos await tangible reform amid the flood control controversy, it's Gen Z that's taking matters into their own hands.
After the scandal erupted, the House of Representatives is facing a crisis. Many Filipinos have lost trust in this very institution. But there are some who are instigating change within Congress, including one of its youngest members.
Congresswoman Renee Ko was elected to the House earlier this year. At 28 years old, she is the congressional representative of a political party that advocates for the rights of young Filipinos.
I can speak on behalf of many of my friends, many of the youth, that this is a tipping point, that we're not simply going back to normal after this. We're not simply accepting that corruption exists and we just have to live with it.
Unlike many of her older peers, Ko says that because she considers herself an activist rather than a politician, she can challenge the system without worrying about her political future. She is one of the few congresspeople who have released their net worth.
What's the mood been like in the House of Representatives since the allegations surfaced?
The tension is high. Yeah, it's bleak. And it's unacceptable that the Marcos Jr. administration is proud of what it's achieving. So it's hypocritical. I hope that actual genuine change happens.
Do you really think there will be accountability
with how the government is selling it, it's hard to believe. Right now, there's an independent commission on infrastructure who is supposedly the backbone of the accountability features. But as you can see, the people who are appointed there have ties to different political dynasties or have histories with working with them. That's why we emphasize that the efforts of accountability, it has to come from the people. This issue, it can't die. No. For it to die, it would be a huge disservice, a huge injustice for the communities that were demolished by floods.
The injustice has sparked anger among young Filipinos online and beyond. They're channeling their fury into memes, art, and music, all made viral on social media. One of the biggest breakouts is rap group Moro Beats. In September, the group released a song which they say is their message to corrupt government officials. Their video has garnered over 10 million views on social media.